over there. Okay, am I ready? Thank you all for coming to my presentation. It's called Ebook Creation and Platform Building for the Self-Published Author. But before I get into what I'm going to talk with you about today, I want to tell you the story of Amanda Hawking. Amanda Hawking was 26 years old and she was working in a group home for disabled young people. She worked there in the daytime and then at night she would write novels. But no matter how many times she would send a document or a manuscript to a literary agent or a publishing house, she was continually met with rejection. Eventually, she reached the end of her rope, and she decided to just try self-publishing online. And she thought, hey, maybe a couple of my family and friends will buy my novel, but it didn't actually end up working that way. Her novels became extremely popular, and now she is a multi-million-dollar success. Because of stories like that of Amanda Hawking, I began to wonder, what does one do to gain this kind of success? What makes Amanda Hawking different from all the other authors who have attempted self-publishing? There are other examples of authors like Amanda Hawking and authors who have not achieved the same amount of success but have still been successful. So what I examined for my project was ebook publishing as a method of self-publishing and platform building. So the first thing I'm going to talk a little bit about is ebook publishing. An ebook is just a book-length work published in a digital form, and you can do that through Amazon very, very easily to publish for their Kindle. Here are some advantages of ebook publishing. You have a probability of reaching a global market. If you were going to self-publish a paper copy of your book, you would have to physically distribute those, but because of the internet, you can really easily market your manuscript to people in Europe and people in California, and you don't have those geographic limitations. The author has the chance to back their own work, so if you, as the author, have this unique opportunity of being able to be the marketer and the publisher and the writer all in one, and you can easily share and publish your work through ebook publishing. The second thing is platform building, and a platform is simply the means by which an author reaches out to their reader. So as a self-published author, it is likely that you will not have a lot of people who know who you are at first. You're most likely unknown starting out. And so a platform is how you become known. This is the way an author connects to their audience. There is free marketing available through social media, and you have an accessibility to your audience through the internet. So the purpose of my project was to lay a foundational plan for little-known authors to gain success through self-publishing. And so to do that, I had 3 methods. My first method was to look into secondary research. So I read articles, I read a book by a self-published author about his journey, I read just anything I could find about the self-publishing experience. And the second thing I did was I took those principles I learned from my secondary research and I put them into practice. So I learned a lot about how social media is the most effective way for a self-published author to market their book because of the low cost and how many people you have access to. And the third thing I did was I conducted primary research through in-depth interviews and surveys to discover an outside perspective on ebooks and building an author platform through social media. So what I did to put these works into practice was I took my honors project, which was it was about the length of a novella. It was a spiritual memoir, and I took that work and I did not actually publish the work, but I did apply formatting and other things to it. And then I used social media to build an author platform to experiment with these methods and discover how they worked. So here is a copy of the cover of the book, and one of my friends designed this for me. Because it was for my honors project, I had 4 professors look over that for me: Dr. Merritt, Dr. Lambert, Dr. Thorburn, and Dr. Stout all proofread it, so that helped me to edit and proofread, which is extremely important when self-publishing. And finally, formatting for an ebook in particular is also an important thing to do. And I was able to do that through reading this. There's a how to format your book. So I read that book, and then I would apply those means, and then I would actually upload those onto my own e-reader and make sure that it was appearing the way it should appear. these are extremely important because you don't want your ebook to look terrible, because if it does, no one is going to want to read it and it's going to not receive good reviews, so it won't ever be able to gain traffic and an audience. So these are just some examples. Here's a Facebook page. I had a blog, so I blogged consistently. This is a Google Plus page, a Twitter page, and finally this is Triber, which is kind of a unique thing that I want to talk with you about. Triber is a blog application platform, and what Triber does is you join a tribe, and a tribe is a group of other people online who have similar blogging interests as you do. And through that, your blog post will show up in their news feeds, and it's very easy for them to share your work, so that way your blog can gain more traffic and more people can read it as you try to establish yourself as an author. So for my primary research, I divided it into two sections. The first section was author platform building through social media, and so I looked at how to do that and how people perceived that being done, and ebooks. So my methodology was in-depth interview and survey research. The way I did my in-depth interview is I chose interviewees that I felt would be likely to read Continuing Revelation. I had 3 interviewees on building an author platform through social media and 3 interviewees on ebooks and their feelings on those. For my survey research, I had 2 surveys, both divided into the same categories: building an author platform through social media marketing, and ebooks. So here are some of my results. For building an author platform through social media, I really discovered a lot about blogging primarily. So I discovered motivation and draw to blogs, blog discovery, criticism of bloggers, and some additional information. The reason I focused on blogs is this is from my survey. The majority of survey participants said the social media they used to connect with authors was blogs first, Facebook, and then Twitter. And then another question was, have you ever discovered a little-known author through a blog? And all survey participants said that they had discovered a little-known author through a blog. So that's why one of the reasons I focused on blogs, because secondary research pointed to that, as did my primary research. So for my in-depth interviews, I really focused on blogging. Here's a quote I received from an in-depth interview on motivation and draw to blogs. The blogs I follow are really well designed, visually and otherwise. The authors connect well with the readers and are regularly updated. Also, food helps, and most of them aren't just opinion blogs. They actually offer advice, inspiration, and information. Something that I saw from all of my primary research across the board was that people who read blogs want a blog to help them in some way, to benefit them through information that they can learn, through inspiration, through, I don't know, whatever you can think that you would like to know, you can learn through a blog, and that's what really draws people to blogs. The next thing is blog discovery. Here's another quote. Whatever topic I'm interested in, I can usually find blogs connected to that. If you find one blogger, it leads you to 50 more. And so this is another interesting point, I think. If you are a blogger and you are connected to other blogs, I think that will help you to be discovered through blogging. And finally, this is actually a quote from a survey participant, because I had some comment boxes on the survey. And it's on the importance of social media. Social media is probably going to become even more important given the state of publishing. Authors have to take on more responsibility for their marketing, and social media is a comprehensive way to accomplish that. So this survey participant obviously thought that social media is important for all authors, self-published or not. Here is another question. It says, I am more likely to read and purchase books by authors with an active social media presence. The majority of participants said that was occasionally true, while others said it is usually true, almost always true, and 2 said that probably wasn't true. But that is interesting, because that shows that it does matter if an author is socially active online. For e-reading, I focused on the discovery of ebooks, ebook costs, pros and cons to e-reading. So this is a quote from an in-depth interview on discovering self-published books. And she talks about Goodreads, which is a social media site directly connected to books. I love Goodreads. I discovered a librarian at the college I went to, Warner Lynn, had a very successful book published through Goodreads. And so we can see an example of someone that many of you may know here who has a book on Goodreads that my friend actually discovered. For the cost of ebooks, I have this quote from an in-depth interview participant. It is really frustrating to me when the ebook is more than the paperback. Overall, I don't mind spending $7 to $15. And so I think what we see here is that people really do take into account that the fact that an ebook is not, you're still getting quality content, but you aren't paying for the paper and the other things. So they want it to be at least comparable with a paperback book, if not less. And finally, here's a quote on free ebooks from an in-depth interview participant. If you get down to the free to $4 range, usually those books are the ones that will live on my digital bookshelf unread because they are not very good. This is definitely not true of all free books because I have downloaded several good cookbooks for free. And all of the classics, of course. 9 out of 10 books that I purchase free are from authors I've never heard of. Free is free, you know? And so from that, we can see that people might be more apt to purchase a free ebook, but that does not necessarily mean they're more apt to read it. This is another survey question. Do you ever purchase, including free ebooks from authors you have not heard of? And 50% of survey participants said yes, 20% said maybe, and 30% said no. And so you do see that the majority of survey participants have or would purchase an ebook from an author they had not previously heard of. So here are some of my conclusions. The ebook market is difficult to become established in, however, it can be done through professional and consistent marketing. What I mean by professional is on two fronts. I think an ebook needs to be professional because your ebook needs to be professional enough so that it can stand up against the ebook produced by a major publishing company and be comparable. Also, you need professionalism in your marketing techniques, and those marketing techniques need to be consistent. An author needs a diverse group of social media platform options. So it's not enough to just be on Facebook. You also need to be on Twitter. You need to be blogging. You need to be on any social media platform you can find because that is going to drive more traffic to your sites. And without daily updating of blogs, Twitter accounts, etc., it's nearly impossible to gain success. So really that consistency is one of the most important things that you can do. If you create a Twitter account and just let it sit there, it's probably not going to gain many followers, but if you are actively updating it, following other people, being involved in the internet world, then you are going to gain traffic. So to conclude, I want to take us back to Amanda Hawkins. And this is a quote by Ed Pilkington, and it's on Amanda Hawkins. Her rise occurred at precisely the moment that self-publishing itself turned from the poor second cousin of the printed book into a serious multi-million-dollar industry. 2 years ago, self-publishing itself was denigrated as vanity publishing, the last resort of the talentless, not anymore. And so for authors who wish to publish but are not sure how to do that, self-publishing is becoming a respectable means of doing that, and it is possible to gain success even though it is difficult. Does anyone have questions?